measurement of what your marketing dollar is doing in the market has been monopoly in some ways of partners who have been data rich traditionally. And what that does is, every time you need to read the market, it becomes an individual project or a request for an analysis, which then automatically means that there are certain lead times that you have to respect. So for an example, if you would like to read this for a Q1 set of campaigns, we would have to go back to the partner at the end of Q1 when the campaigns have all run. Then they would have their own lead time of actually analyzing the data, preparing it for a presentation, which would then add another few weeks. So what tended to happen is you would end up learning anything with a timeline of 6 to 8 weeks after the end of the campaign. So forget about actually reacting during the campaign. Even the learnings and iterations that you can do are 3 to 6 months apart. The second big problem is a very standard offering. This is what we can do and this is what we cannot do. Today, what we are already seeing is the external environment is changing at a very rapid pace, and some of these standard offerings may not remain fit for purpose for a long time. And you need flexibility. You need to be able to read what you want to read, design test cases that you want to test for your category, for your segment, and the ideas that the marketers bring to the table. And it is becoming much easier with the data environment to be able to do that if you control the measurement piece. And then finally, there is an element of cost. Yes, the cost is significant because the output is of value. But the main thing here is then as we assign a bigger cost to this by going to a third party, automatically there is a prioritization. So we would then not invest this amount on some of our smaller brands or where there might be bigger opportunities, but just because the P&L doesn't allow, we would not do it. All these issues actually can be resolved if you think in-house, if you think your own model, if you think, getting more control of the data so that you can overcome some of these challenges. We took a strategic decision to bring this capability in-house with Sigmoid, and have been successful in actually resolving all of these challenges. So we now have a model which runs every week. We have a weekly rhythm and operating model where we look at the outcomes of that model. We have discussions and decisions that we take on what, if anything, are we going to change? Is there any experiment that we are going to run? Then we read the outcome of that experiment and then actually bring it into our library of insights that we are now beginning to maintain. There were a lot of data that we did not know we had access to, or we did not think we should go after, which we have brought in as part of this program, which has given us immense asset for the future. We started to read channels that we were not able to read because we were limited with some of the capabilities on the third party. And as I said, because of the cost savings, we have been, the model doesn't discriminate between our brands and categories. And as long as you have the data, you can read any campaign, and that has been immensely powerful for us. So some of this is still in plan, work in progress, but the case that we started with in RB with Lysol has been a massive success for us. There is pros and cons of going internal. Some of the points I mentioned beforehand, but there is one big element which I would personally like to share is the education, because just going through this experience with you guys has taught me a lot about this space, which has then also broadened my perspective on where the investments need to be for technology going forward. So I think that's in many ways an underrated benefit, but for me personally it was very helpful, and I would highly recommend that people consider that as part, because the organizational education that happens by actually going through this process of looking at the data, understanding how you make these connections, how you can design tests, it's fantastic.